Okay, let's jump in. We're doing a deep dive today into, well, it's a short book, but a really big one. Ralph Waldo Emerson's Nature. Came out in 1836.
Right, and if you've heard anything about American transcendentalism, this is pretty much the foundational text.
Exactly. So our plan for this deep dive is to unpack it, get at the core ideas Emerson had about us in the natural world. Some are pretty surprising.
And he starts with a real challenge, doesn't he? He basically says, look around, we're all living in the past.
Yeah, building tombs, writing biographies,
Yeah.
looking through the eyes of previous generations.
And he just asks, why? Why shouldn't we have our own original relation to the universe? That's the kicker right at the start.
And a powerful question. Not ditching history, but demanding our own direct connection. And he sets up this framework for thinking about it. The whole universe splits into two things for him.
Nature and the soul. Simple as that, philosophically.
But his definition of nature, that's important to get straight away.
Oh, yeah. It's not just trees and mountains, the common sense way we use the word, which he acknowledges, by the way.
But philosophically.
Philosophically, nature is everything that is not the soul. It's the not me, which means it includes, well, nature itself, but also art, other people, even your own body.
Wow, okay. So that's a much broader category than you might think.
Definitely sets the stage for everything else.
So if we want this original relation, where do we begin, according to Emerson?
Not in the library, not chatting with friends. Solitude. You need to get away.
He says you need to retire from your room as much as from society.
Right. And for him, true solitude means looking at the stars. There's something about their distance, their constant presence. It sparks reverence, a sense of the sublime.
And he draws this contrast, this really interesting one, between how adults see nature and how kids do.
Uh-huh. He claims most adults don't really see the sun. It's superficial.
But the sun shines into the eye and the heart of the child. The real nature lover keeps that childlike wonder.
And that leads into that famous, maybe slightly weird but unforgettable image.
You mean the transparent eyeball?
That's the one. When he's out in the woods feeling totally connected, he talks about this perfect exhilaration.
Feeling young again? Shedding years?
Standing on the bare ground, looking up, and all mean egotism vanishes.
I become a transparent eyeball. I am nothing. I see all. It's about dissolving the self, right?
Merging with the universal being, feeling like a part or particle of God. It's intense.
He even mentions this odd occult relation with plants, like a silent understanding.
Yeah, a sense of recognition.
But then comes a really crucial point. After all this description of nature's power,
He pulls back slightly. He says the power to feel that delight isn't just in nature.
it's in man or in a harmony of both. That's huge.
It really is. It grounds the whole thing. Nature isn't magic on its own. It's the interaction. It wears the colors of the spirit.
So if you're feeling blue, the landscape looks drab.
Right.
If you're happy, it looks amazing.
Exactly. Your inner state paints the outer world in a way.
Which puts the ball back in our court, doesn't it? It's about what you bring to nature.
Definitely. And from there, he starts breaking down how nature serves us, its different uses. He gives 4 categories.
Right, the 4 uses: commodity, beauty, language, and discipline.
And they kind of build on each other, moving from the basic material stuff up to the spiritual.
Okay, let's start with commodity. Seems pretty straightforward. Nature gives us things we need.
Yep, the most basic, the most obvious. Food, shelter, fuel, materials.
Animals, fire, water, rocks, plants, all the resources.
He calls it temporary and immediate, even mercenary. It's useful, but it's not the ultimate point.
But even here, he gives it a little twist. He talks about human inventions like steam engines and railways.
As basically just using nature's own processes. We're harnessing her power, extending her reach.
Like railways darting through the country like an eagle. He sees the benefits, even for the average person.
But then he elevates it. Even this basic use serves a farther good. You eat so you can work.
Ah, so even providing resources is ultimately about enabling human potential in action.
Exactly. It's never just about the thing itself.
Okay, moving up. Next is beauty.
A nobler want, he calls it. He brings in the Greek idea of cosmos, the world, as inherently beautiful.
And the first level is just appreciating it, right? The look of things.
Simple perception. Shapes, colors, motion. He finds it medicinal, restorative. Just having a horizon to look at is good for the eyes, he says.
He describes beautiful scenes, mornings, sunsets, winter, specific plants and animals.
But he warns against chasing it too hard. If you just go out looking for beauty, it can become superficial, just a show.
Interesting. So what's the next level of beauty?
Beauty combined with human will, with virtue. The spiritual element is key here.
Beauty is the mark God sets upon virtue. What does he mean by that?
He means that noble actions seem even greater when they happen in a beautiful natural setting. Think of heroic battles or acts of integrity.
Like Leonidas at Thermopylae. The landscape and the action enhance each other. A good person seems in unison with nature.
Precisely. And the third aspect.
Beauty as an object of the intellect. This sounds more abstract.
It is. It's about seeing the underlying order, connecting the specific beautiful things you see to universal principles, to thought.
Finding the patterns, the absolute order.
And this is where art fits in. Art is a nature passed through the alembic of man, creating beauty.
So art refines or concentrates nature's beauty.
Kind of. He sees beauty as harmony, unity and diversity, il più nell'uno, the most in one. Nature shows countless forms, but they're radically alike.
But even intellectual beauty isn't the end game.
No, natural beauty, however profound, is just a herald pointing towards an inward and eternal beauty, which is its source. It always points beyond itself.
Okay, that makes sense. From commodity to beauty. Next up is language.
Yeah, this is fascinating. Nature itself is a way of communicating.
How does that work? He breaks it down, right?
Into 3 degrees. First, words are signs of natural facts. Think about the origins of abstract words.
Like right coming from straight or wrong from twisted, spirit from breath.
Exactly. Our language is built on physical metaphors. He thinks kids and early cultures tap into this naturally.
Okay, so words link back to nature. What's the second degree?
Particular natural facts are symbols of particular spiritual facts. This is where metaphors come from.
An angry person is a lion. A steady person is a rock.
Light for knowledge, darkness for ignorance, a river for change. He believes these analogies are deep and consistent throughout nature. They show a radical correspondence between the visible and the invisible.
So nature provides the vocabulary for spiritual truths.
Yes, and the third degree takes it even further.
Yes.
Nature as a whole is the symbol of spirit. The entire physical world is like a dial plate of the invisible. Physical laws mirror ethical laws.
Wow. That's why Proverbs use natural imagery. A rolling stone gathers no moss is a moral lesson too.
That's his point, and he worries that language gets corrupted when people lose that simplicity, that connection to nature. Words become detached, abstract, weak.
So living a truthful life helps you understand nature's language better.
He thinks so. Honest people naturally use imagery. Good writing is full of perpetual allegories. A connection to nature, like country life, helps keep language vital.
Which leads us right into the fourth use, discipline, nature as our teacher.
Exactly. It teaches both the understanding the practical mind and the reason the higher intuitive faculty.
How does it teach the understanding?
Through basic physics, really. Resistance, cause and effect, order, difference. It's practical training for common sense. He calls it the hand of the mind.
Even things like owning property, debt. That's nature teaching us.
Yeah, teaching about value, consequences. Nature pardons no mistakes, he says. It's a tough but fair teacher of reality.
So it disciplines our practical sense. What about the will?
It teaches us about power, learning how to interact with the world, shape it, make things happen, seeing nature as material to work with. The world becomes our realized will.
And there's a moral dimension too.
Definitely. Nature is moral. Its laws reflect ethical laws. It supports religion. He feels like moral character is the ultimate end for which it was made. Nothing in nature just serves one purpose. It always has a higher use waiting.
And this ties into his idea of the unity of nature.
Yes, that underlying oneness beneath all the variety. Architecture as frozen music, the similarities between rock, river, air, light, it all points to the same source.
Which is
the universal spirit. Everything flows from that single origin.
Okay, so nature teaches us practical sense, willpower, morality, and underlying unity. That's a lot.
It is. And all this leads him to question the ultimate reality of the material world itself. That's the idealism chapter.
Right, the noble doubt. Does nature actually exist out there like we think it does?
Or is it more like a projection, a phenomenon that God uses to communicate with us, to teach the soul?
Idealism sees nature as phenomenon, not a substance. How does he argue for that?
He suggests that different aspects of culture like poetry, science, philosophy, religion, all tend to push us in that direction. They show how the mind or spirit can seem more fundamental than matter.
He uses those examples of changing perspective, right? Like looking at a landscape from a moving train or upside down.
Yeah, things that make the world seem less fixed, more dependent on the observer.
And poets and philosophers do this too.
The poet makes the world fluid with metaphors. The philosopher sees physical things as just shadows of eternal ideas or outcomes of universal laws. Even science, by focusing on laws, can make matter seem secondary.
So developing our minds through culture or thought shifts our view. We start seeing the apparent world as less solid, less real.
Kind of, less ultimately real compared to spirit or ideas. Religion does this too, obviously, focusing on the unseen and eternal over the seen and temporary.
But Emerson doesn't want to just dismiss nature, does he? He says he still loves it.
Absolutely. He has a child's love for it. It's not about degrading nature, but showing its true position relative to us. Idealism helps us see it as this incredible, vast picture God paints for our soul to contemplate.
Okay, so idealism is a step, but maybe not the final step for him. He moves on to spirit.
Right. Idealism is useful, but it can feel a bit cold, maybe leaving God out of me, as he puts it. It doesn't fully explain our deep connection, that feeling of consanguinity with nature.
So what does spirit add?
Spirit is the ultimate source. Nature isn't just a picture for us, it's an apparition of God. And importantly, spirit puts nature forth through us.
Through us. How does that work?
He uses the analogy of a tree putting out leaves. The universal spirit creates nature through the individual soul. We're not just looking at it, we're participating in its creation.
So we have access to the creator's mind. We are creator in the finite.
That's the idea. And this understanding is meant to be empowering. It animates me to create my own world through the purification of my soul.
So our inner state doesn't just color our perception of the world, it actually helps shape it.
In a very deep sense, yes. Which explains why he sees a discord. Why fallen man feels estranged from nature. Why animals run away.
It's because we're estranged from the spirit within ourselves. Disharmony inside leads to disharmony outside.
That seems to be his point. The disconnect is internal first.
Which brings us to the last chapter, prospects, looking ahead.
Yeah, and here he circles back to criticize science if it only looks at facts and ignores the deeper connections, the relation between things and thoughts. We need reason, intuition to grasp the wonderful congruity between us and the world.
He quotes that poem about man being a god in ruins.
Right. Suggesting we've fallen from a state where we were more integrated with nature, where spirit flowed through us more freely. Now we're dwarfs of ourselves, and nature relates to us from far and on high.
And because of this fallen state, we only use half his force.
Just the understanding, the practical calculating part, which leads to penny wisdom, using nature selfishly, exploitatively, like a banished king trying to buy back his kingdom piece by piece.
But he sees hope, gleams of a better light.
Yes, in moments when we do act with our whole being, reason and understanding together. Miracles, heroism, prayer, moments of deep insight or creativity, that's reason reclaiming its power.
So how do we fix it? How do we restore that original and eternal beauty?
Not by tinkering with nature directly, it's through the redemption of the soul. The problem isn't out there. The ruin or the blank is in our own eye.
Because man is disunited with himself.
Exactly. You can't be a true naturalist, can't truly see nature until the spiritual side is addressed. Wisdom is seeing the miraculous in the common. You need love and virtue as much as sharp observation.
And this leads to that really powerful conclusion. Nature is not fixed but fluid. Spirit alters, molds, makes it.
Every spirit builds itself a house, and beyond its house, a world. It's about recognizing our creative power derived from spirit.
Know then that the world exists for you, and what we are, that only can we see.
It all comes back to the inner state shaping the outer reality.
And the final call to action is just incredibly direct. Build, therefore, your own world.
Yeah. As you align your life with that pure idea within you, the outer world will transform accordingly.
Disagreeable things will vanish because they reflect inner discord.
It's not about magic wands, it's about achieving inner harmony, which then manifests externally. This kingdom of man over nature arrives quietly, naturally, like sight returning to the blind.
Wow. Okay, so quite a journey. From challenging us to find our own connection through all those uses of nature,
Commodity, beauty, language, discipline.
to seeing nature as ultimately a reflection, an emanation of spirit shaped by our own souls.
It really emphasizes that profound link between our inner world and the world we perceive and experience.
So maybe the thought to leave everyone with is this. If Emerson is right, If the world you experience is tied so closely to your inner state, your connection to spirit, what's one small thing you could do starting today to work on that inner alignment, to start building your own world?